Welcome guys to SMC version 2.2. In today's update video, we're going to be showcasing the last ever content update for SMC. In today's update, there's actually not that many new features, unfortunately. It's just a lot of bug fixes and like efficiency performance things. But yeah, it's not really that big of a deal, to be honest. This is the smallest data pack I've ever made. It's very lightweight. It does add a lot to the game, in my opinion. It's actually probably the most complex one I've made in terms of like how often you'll run into the features that it adds and things like that. But it's very, very basic, and it was very easy to fix. So if you don't know, very recently over the last few weeks, I have been going over all three of my data packs, be it SGT, SMC, and SBS, for the gameplay tweaks, mob converter, and better sleeping system, and basically improving their performance with the newfound knowledge that I've gained having made SBS version 2.1 with the Blood Moon update back again. Because all of my data packs aren't very well optimized, unfortunately. They are a bit crap. I've kind of known this for a while. My data pack skills have fluctuated, let's just say, over the last year or so. I started making data packs about 6 months ago, I think. Maybe even more than that now, actually. In fact, it was ages before that now I think about it. Christ, it's been a long time. But yeah, basically my skills of data packing have improved massively over the last few months. So I've been going over all of our data packs that we have here and basically just improving the performance of all of them and how they behave. So SMC is one of the first ones to be, quote unquote completed, just because of how basic it really is. So the changelog for today's update is really basic. I don't even need like a runway of things to show you, unfortunately. We are going to test some stuff in a minute. But yeah, so in this update I have removed owls. Sorry, but the owls were broken. They were broken as shit. So basically, every time you had an owl in the world, you could breed the owl with parrots, and you would get a parrot. You could breed the owl with other owls, and you would get a parrot. So that was broken. The sound system that I designed for it wasn't perfect. It did work somewhat, and you would hear owl sounds when you were near the parrot. But it was also a bit broken. It was a bit weird, and I had some other plans for it that I never really ended up going with. I now actually know a much better way of doing custom sounds because of the custom sounds that were introduced in SBS. So that will be improved greatly in the future as well. There was actually a system in place a while back where if you found a brown bear in a tiger biome, it would have an invisible baby bear riding it. There were so many issues with that. Why did I think that was a good idea? That's been removed as well. So basically, as sad as it is, bears are no longer aggressive. I don't think you can even change their aggressive behavior with an MBT tag or anything like that. The only way of doing it is with having a baby nearby. Now, the way that I've made it now, however, is that when brown bears spawn in a forest, like a spruce forest or whatever, with a fox, then there's actually a high chance that they will spawn a baby alongside them anyway. So brown bears will usually be aggressive in tigers anyway, but they're not going to have that strange bear riding them thing, which we did in SMC version ages ago, like 1.2 I think it was, something crazy like that. So the bear trigger system is no longer in place. It's been completely removed, unfortunately. But yeah, it was broken as well, because you could just simply kill the baby bear while it was riding the polar bear. It wasn't invulnerable. After you killed the adult polar bear, a lot of the time, like more often than not, the baby bear would just fall off the adult bear and just run around and do whatever it wanted to, because my system for checking whether or not the adult bear died was awful. It was crap. So other than that, the rest of the features in this update are actually new features, which is kind of nice. So we've fixed the owls, we've fixed the bears. Yeah, sorry guys. But yeah, so new features include Wither Skeletons have a new feature with their bow system. So a lot of you will know from, I think it was actually introduced in version 2.0 of SMC, that Wither Skeletons now have a high chance of spawning with a bow. Now, originally, I was kind of planning on having them drop a custom arrow, which had flame by default, and that's a system that I'm definitely going to introduce in ROTV in the future for the new data pack project. But basically, Wither Skeletons previously had a bow that was just unenchanted, but now, if I get a Wither Skeleton and he spawns in with the 30% chance to have a bow, then he will actually drop a flame bow. There he is. So this bow that he's got right here is actually a flame bow. Every time that you get a wither bow now, it will just have flame by default, which makes sense because if a wither skeleton attacks you, he will shoot flame arrows. So if I go into game mode survival just briefly, you can see there he's got flame arrows, and I'm going to quickly go back into creative mode so he doesn't murder me. But yeah, so these guys will drop flame arrows, and you can also see there he's got a new bone texture as well. So I basically added a lot of features in SGT recently that basically just add like fake additional items to the game by having custom model data versions of items, and as you can see there, the charred bone is a new one of those. So every time a wither skeleton dies now, he will drop a charred bone, which is exactly the same as a regular bone, and in my eyes, The reason why I called it the charred bone is because it makes sense in terms of crafting it into bone meal. Because of course this is just still a regular bone. It just looks like a wither bone. I could have called it wither bone, but then I would have wanted to have some sort of special mechanic behind it. By having it be a charred bone, it just sort of makes sense that like it can still be crafted into bone meal because it's the same on the inside. It's charred on the outside, but it's, you know, the wither skeleton was still just a skeleton at the end of the day. So that's kind of the logic there. So yeah, in addition to that, skeletons obviously can spawn with stone swords a very small percentage of the time. So we've got a bow skeleton. Bow, there he is. That was pretty lucky actually. So I think it's about 10% of the time a skeleton can spawn with a stone sword, which is kind of just designed to add a little bit more variation and also balance the fact that I fucking hate skeletons in Minecraft. They're my least favorite mob. They're the only mob that can get a free easy shot in every time, unless you have a shield. But yeah, skeletons with a stone sword will no longer drop arrows ever. They will only ever drop a bone and obviously potentially the sword that they're carrying as well. Okay, so there's a sword one. So we only got bones, and that time we got a bone and an arrow, like that. So obviously you won't always get bones and arrows because of the way that the loot tables do work. But whenever a skeleton has a sword, it will never drop arrows, and that applies to both regular skeletons and wither skeletons as well. So if you kill a wither skeleton that is using a sword, he won't drop arrows, but if you kill a wither skeleton that's using a bow, he might drop arrows. So pretty cool. I've been doing a lot of loot table things recently. There's a lot of fun that can be had with loot table magic. It's really fun. And also a new one, I'm not sure if I'll be able to show it you here, but there is a 5% chance that a zombie will spawn in holding a bone, and he has a 100% chance of dropping that bone. So that's just a neat little way of getting an additional bone every so often if you're too much of a pussy to fight skeletons like I am. So yeah, damn dude, it's a creepy, it's a scary ass baby zombie. Let's see if we can get one here. He's very rare, but it's a nice little thing. You will see it a lot in your worlds honestly if you get swarmed by zombies. Let's see. This is quality content right here, isn't it? Whatever, it's a 5% chance, you get the idea, it's very rare. But basically every time a zombie spawns in, there is a tiny, tiny chance that he will spawn in wielding a bone as a weapon, which I think is quite funny because it kind of alludes to the idea that the zombie is like a caveman or something funny like that, I don't know. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching guys. I hope you enjoyed this final update for SMC. It was more focused on the custom loot tables and the weapons of those three mobs, obviously. One other thing worth noting as well, there was actually a previous thing where every skeleton had a chance to be spawned with a stone sword, which meant that strays could spawn with a stone sword. But instead of doing the custom loot table technique for not dropping arrows for strays as well as skeletons, I've just simply removed strays from that detection mode. So regular skeletons have a 10% chance of spawning with a stone sword, wither skeletons have a 30% chance of switching out to the flame bow, and strays will just always have their annoying slowness arrows. They're never going to have swords as well. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. SMC v2.2 is now available for download, and make sure you download the latest version of SDR to benefit from all the new textures, such as the charred bone there as well. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I will look forward to seeing you in a future video. Take care, and bye-bye.